Hello again, everybody. This video is sponsored by a contribution from Anonymous, and here's his story. Dear Ollie, I'd like to start by saying thank you for your channel and helping so many of us. When I first contacted you, it was about my narc relationship and some audio I was going to provide for you to listen to on the channel. But I recently come to the realization of a more sinister situation. I have changed the names of the people so all can remain anonymous. I would also like to remain anonymous. This goes back to 2001 when I was going through some tough times of my own, but I was meeting new people who seemed so caring and genuine. But there was one person that for some reason we just couldn't see eye to eye. I could perceive something coming from this guy and it wasn't good. I'll call this guy Tony. So Tony has a girlfriend at this point who I call Tanya. Tanya and I always had a brilliant friendship. I could almost go as far as calling her a soulmate. On several occasions throughout and to date, Tony and Tanya would argue, and to the point where Tanya would be reduced to tears. Sometimes she would come to me for consoling. I always told her she was so unhappy to leave him as she deserved better. She never did. The arguments would continue. Sometimes all would be good for a few months, then explosion. She would stay at her parents, and again I would tell her to leave him, but she didn't. The dynamic of that relationship hasn't changed a great deal. Within my own little world, I had the son I never had, who I will call Dave. I spent a lot more time at work on low wages and working weekends, but would see Dave every 2 or 3 weekends per month in his younger years. There's more to the history, but it's not relevant for this. Tony and Tanya, along with another couple, all lived together. There was nothing sexual going on either amongst themselves or anything like that. We were almost a big happy family. As Dave got older, Tony would on occasion pick him up for weekends, then invite me along sometimes. The deal being that I would take Dave back home afterwards. Tony used to put me down on occasion, not about anything in particular, but it was enough to hurt my feelings at the least, enough to make me think twice about arranging to meet up with him soon. Although I have never done or said anything to merit being treated that way. In more recent years with Tony and Tanya, I'd ask if we are good to meet up, and they would say they were unavailable to spend time with me. But then social media would give away what they were up to, spending time with Dave and his partner and so on. Some time ago, Tony and Tanya got hitched. I really didn't want them to because of the something not quite right with Tony and my most recent discovery of my feelings for Tanya. But I wanted her to be happy, so it was better to say nothing, I guess. So how does this tie in with what I'm writing about? Well, I recently discovered that I was in a narcissistic relationship, which very nearly destroyed the very essence of myself. Tanya has been my listening ear through all that I have been through with my ex, but I noticed a change in Tony. The more I came to the realization my ex is a narcissist, the more I get a look of the absolute hatred from him when telling his wife Tanya about my ex and what she does and how she treats me, etc. At first I thought he was jealous because his wife and I were connecting on a deeper level than before, and maybe it was because she seemed empathetic to what I am going through. Then, with Tanya having children with Tony now, the only word I can think of is dictates to his wife what she should do, eat, and so on. He chooses to go out as he pleases, leaving her with the kids. Something she rarely gets to do is time to herself or doing her own thing. While talking with her more recently, she said of a scenario where she sometimes leaves a light on or something minor like that. Tony will then go on about it repeatedly to her. I can only see this as one thing, control. I feel he has been manipulating Dave, as when I have spoken with Tanya about the relationship I was in, They, Dave and Tony, were both giving me looks that I can't even describe. But recently, on a good note, I was able to explain what it's like to Dave when he was alone, and he seemed a lot more understanding than before. Could I be right in thinking Tony was manipulating him? Yeah, I'm sure that's what's going on. So my theory is this: Tony has been manipulating Tanya from day one of the relationship. He could also be planting seeds into Dave's head about me. Why? I don't know. Well, because if Dave doesn't like you, Tanya's going to be less likely to like you. And obviously, I think Tony is a little insecure about your relationship with her. But from what you're saying, it seems like you might have a little bit of a reason to be. My other theory is Tony is now aware that I know what his behavior to his wife is related to. But what I want advice with is what, if anything, I could do to help her. I don't think she's strong enough to leave. More so now she has kids to consider too. And Tony has been very good at manipulative tactics. I'm sorry if this is long and somewhat confusing. I don't know if you can see what is going on here. What can I do to help Tanya? This isn't about my feelings for her. It's more about what I can do if she does want out of this with Tony. You're not even sure of what she wants yet. You're making assumptions for her right now. In a worst case scenario, I'm willing to walk away from everyone because I haven't even scratched the surface of some of the many situations that have erupted in the last 15 years with Tony and how I've been devalued and discarded many times. I guess I'm a sucker for the punishment, huh? Either all this is true and accurate or my perception of reality is toying with me. Any help is greatly appreciated. Keep up your good work. Peace, brother. Anonymous. Okay. Look, the question is, why would you put up with 15 years of abuse from this guy? And it's probably because of your feelings for Tanya. Now, I don't disagree that he's probably a narcissist and he's controlling and abusive. I have no question. I have no doubt on that. But Tanya hasn't even asked. I don't know how much help she's asked for. It seems like she certainly hasn't said she's wanted out of the relationship. Look, this seems like a lot of wishful thinking on your part. And if Tanya hasn't come out and specifically said to you that she wants out, then you need to walk away and leave it alone. Because anything you say at this point is going to be meddling and going to be turned around against you, as you've always been in love with Tanya. And that might even be true. But that doesn't negate the fact that Tanya's being abused and having problems. Until Tanya says something on her own that she specifically wants out and she's being abused, you can't really get involved in this. You really can't. I mean, if she were to say that, that's one thing. But otherwise, you're going to be meddling and it's going to be turned around against you. And it seems like there's a little bit of history here and it's going to be easily turned against you and put in your face. The best thing I would suggest for you to do is to walk away and from the entire situation. Because my question to you is this: why put up with 15 years of abuse? Look, I think you're probably hanging on for this girl, Tanya, and it's never going to happen. And it's never going to happen the way you want it to happen. She's been abused. You've been abused. You know, there needs to be some separation from both of you from the entire situation first, because neither one of you really even know each other. You're involved in the scope of narcissism, so anything you know is basically an act or a shield to protect themselves anyway. But this girl hasn't specifically asked for help, so there's nothing you can do at this point because she's married with kids. And look, Tony doesn't respect you because he pretty much knows deep down why you're hanging around. So he's going to keep abusing you anyway. So anything coming from you is going to be turned around against you. And regardless of what you said to Dave, he might believe you in that moment, but you're not there all the time, and it's going to be turned right back around even quicker. And I know this is tough, might be tough to hear, and I know it might be very difficult for you, but you need to walk away from the situation. Unless she specifically asks you for help, that's the only way I get involved. But in a situation like this, sometimes you just got to walk away. So probably not the answer you want to hear, but I got to be honest with you. You put up with enough abuse, and it's time for you to move on and find somebody who's going to make you happy. So thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your story. Thank you to everybody watching. And I'm sorry for the delay in videos. I just pretty much gotten my voice back to normal. Still cracks a little bit. But please leave any comments or advice in the comments section below. And again, if you have a story, a topic, a narcissist you'd like to expose, or you just like to contribute to the channel, you know what to do with the PayPal link in the description box. And even if you can't contribute, send me your story anyway. I'll still be able to use it. And I will have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon.